between NASA and the IEBC introducing a memorandum of the Commission CEO dated 27th July 2017 that was adopted and incorporated into the judgment. The Court of Appeal then held that one, biometric verification of a voter is the primary mode of identifying voters at the polling station. Two, where a voter cannot be identified using biometrics, the presiding officer shall use a complementary mechanism of alphanumeric search in the presence of agents, and the voter shall fill Form 32A before being issued with 6 ballot papers. 3, the presiding officer will resort to the use of the printed register of voters after approval from the Commission upon confirmation that the KIMS kit has completely failed and that there is no possibility of repair or replacement. And 4, the contents of the state memo dated 27th July 2017 shall be adhered to by all concerned persons in application of Regulation 69 and 83 of the Election General Regulations 2012. So, guided by the Court of Appeal judgment of 4th August 2017, the Commission resolved to use the printed register of voters only in instances where the KIMS kits completely fail and that there is no possibility of repair or replacement. On Wednesday, 29th June 2022, the Commission held a consultative meeting with presidential candidates at the Windsor Hotel, where we deliberated on a raft of issues, including the deployment of the register of voters at the polling stations. During the meeting, the Commission explained the inherent risks associated with the use of printed register of voters by way of crossing out names of voters after identification using the KIMS kit. The Commission, in compliance with the said decision of the High Court in Constitutional Petition number E306 of 2022, shall now deploy the printed register of voters at the polling station where names of voters shall be crossed out after identification of voters using the KIMS kit. The Commission commits to adhere to the rule of law and will facilitate the realization of political rights of Kenyans as encapsulated in Article 38 of the Constitution in order to deliver a free, fair, and credible general election. That's the statement from the Commission dated 5th August 2022. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, you may field them, and the commissioners will assist in answering them. If there are no questions, thank you very much. We are running into another stakeholder meeting. Yes.
My name is Olale from Citizen. My name is Olale from Citizen TV. Thank you for that update, Chairman and the IEBC commissioners. Still, we now the home stretch, barely 72 hours to the August 9th general election. Despite the commission having come out clear, to exude confidence among voters and Kenyans that despite the anomalies that were actually highlighted by the KMPG report, that those are things of the past, but still there are Kenyans out there, there are voters out there still having concerns in regards to the credibility of this coming election. What does the Commission have to say in regards to the KPMG report? That is one. Number two, the official campaign season is ending tomorrow. As a Commission, are you satisfied in the manner of which the political class who are stakeholders in this particular process have conducted themselves? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We deal with that. Another? Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. I think we were a bit concerned about that issue of the decision of the court, but what we'd like to know is that register that will be at the polling stations. Is it the one that has the identity cards, or is it a truncated register that is already at the doors of the polling stations for the next 7 days. Thank you.
Okay. We can deal with that. Marjan, I would like you to deal with the issue of the KPMG report. The issue about the register, we have the register in the KIMS kit is the same register that has been printed out and it will be available in the polling station. That register, which will be used for polling, has all the details, the photo, the ID number, full details of the voter, excluding the biometric. Only the biometrics are missing. The rest are all the details as per the KIMS kit. The register which is pasted on the door is redacted. It doesn't have the full details of the ID number. So that's the one pasted on the door does not have ID numbers in full. It's redacted. But the one for polling has all the details. And that's the difference. So there are two levels. It will be crossed out at the same time as the verification by biometrics, and it will also be used as complementary if all the KIMS kits failed. So it has two levels of usage as per the judgments of the Court of Appeal and the High Court. Official campaign period, yes, ends tomorrow. And I must say that so far, the parties have lived and candidates have lived with the expectations of the Code of Conduct, except a few incidents where we received reports and we forwarded the complaints to the DPP. I believe the DPP is dealing with those cases where there were a few isolated incidents. But generally, I want to thank the candidates and the political parties for conducting themselves in a manner as expected. Pursuant to the Code of Conduct. Marjan.
Thank you very much. The issue of KPMG audit report, as indicated before, were addressed by the Commission. Majority of the issues were basically related to ensuring that the access rights are actually commensurate with the roles of the users, and these were basically done. Similarly, also we had another audit, independent audit, technology audit, and the assurance we were given is that our systems are actually good, they are secured. So there is no cause for alarm. The system we are going to the election is basically the identification systems and the results transmission systems, and these systems are very, very highly secured, and therefore there is no cause for alarm. Thank you very much.
Chazima from NTV. The Director of Public Prosecutions has written to the IEBC over calling for investigations into some officers in Garissa and Wajir County over what he terms as illegal transfer of voters and illegal registration and transfer of voters in the polling stations there. How do you respond to that? Are you aware of it, and how are you going to deal with it?
Yes, I think let me get back to the KPMG report. And this is an issue which we referred to when we came here in this very ground and we unveiled the KPMG report. The Commission informed the country then that there were cases of transfers, unauthorized transfers, and it involved some of our staff, 5 of them. Our internal mechanisms then went into investigation and gave us a report which identified those officers, and we forwarded that report to the DPP. I believe based on that report we forwarded the DPP, that's why he has then initiated investigations through the EACC. So yes, we are aware of it. The report was generated from the Commission, and those officers have since been suspended from duty, and we believe then that the DPP and the team will be able to get to the bottom of the matter. Of course, the Commission shall be able to cooperate and give all the information required to the investigative agencies. Yeah, thank you.
Question. I'm Kakina from K24. In our briefing yesterday with Commissioners Justice and Irene, it emerged that some ballot papers had not yet arrived in the country due to the delays in the court rulings. My question is clarification, have they arrived? And if yes, will you still meet the deadline which you had given us of 6th as the last day in which that material will be at their respective constituencies?
Okay. Yeah, they are here, the two commissioners, sorry.
We told you we are working commission. So in the terms of the update of the ballot papers, so far we have received 4,443 pallets, and we have distributed 3,141. And the distribution is as follows. For President, we have distributed 164 pallets. For Governor, 585 pallets. For Senator, 514 pallets. Women Rep, 555 pallets. Members of Parliament, 593. MCAs, 730. And the distribution continues. And we will receive the last 18 pallets tomorrow morning. And those are the pallets where we had cases, particularly for MCAs, that had not been resolved. They will be received and be distributed. Our target is by Sunday, all the ballot papers will be in their respective constituencies. And we are on schedule, we are on course. Everything will be there on time. We have also received the Form 34Bs. They have been printed and they have been received. They will also be distributed together with the other materials.
All right, thank you.
Final question.
Can we have the last one?
Yes.
So, last one.
My name is David Mudoka from KTN. I have 2 questions. The first one being with regards to your press statement where you say that you are going to use the manual register. Your earlier stand a few months ago was that the reason why that the Commission is not going to use the manual register is it's going to be prone to some electoral malpractices, such as where voters can vote twice, and in other cases where voters who don't turn up, some agents and some IEBC officials maybe can collude to vote on their behalf. Now, evidently, the manual register is back. How are you going to mitigate the very electoral malpractices you intended to omit by having the manual register now back? And then secondly, with regards to ballot boxes and their distribution, how is it so far? What is its status?
Ballot boxes?
Yes.
Ballot boxes are all in the field. Wanderi, you have another issue about ballot boxes? Is the chairperson?
Let me repeat myself. We have said that all materials, ballot boxes, booths, and all those other materials, non-legislative materials, we started distributing them about 3 weeks ago, about a month ago. And we are having everything, including ballot boxes, in place by Sunday.
I think, Commissioner, what people want assurance is not the number of pallets. They want to know, we have 22,000 or so registered voters, which means it's 22 million. So it's 22 million times 6, so many number of ballot papers. How many are already on the ground, and are all ballot papers in the country as we speak, or do we have some arriving? So that we are sure that people want to know that all ballot papers are in place and there is no chance of delay should the ballots not arrive. That's that we want to know they're in the country and distributed.
I have said, when I talk about the pallets carry ballot papers and ballot boxes. And I have just said, all the ballot papers are here as of now, except 18 pallets for the areas where there were issues regarding petition that were filed. And those ones will also arriving tomorrow morning, and they will be distributed together with the remaining materials by Sunday. I'm promising Kenyans and everybody to be ready to vote. Materials will be on site and on time. Thank you.
So the issue about the register. I think we have been very consistent in our messaging, and we say that informed by the 2017 elections, we saw the inherent risks associated with the use of the printed register. Remember, the Commission must follow the Constitution and the laws of the land, and include that the aspect of the court decisions are part of the laws of the land, which we must follow. And we cannot be that commission then that we don't make our own law. In fact, part of the reforms we sent to the Parliament was around amendment of these provisions regarding the use of the printed register, and we all know that it didn't have see the light of the day. So where we are, we must comply with the High Court judgment, we must comply with the Court of Appeal judgment, and that is what informs the press we have given this afternoon. Way forward, Kenyans will go to the polls on the 9th of August. We implore upon candidates to please have agents in polling stations, to be vigilant. We have trained our officers. The training is on today and ending tomorrow, and they will take an oath of secrecy. And there are consequences for them not to do what is required of them in giving Kenyans a free, fair, and credible election. So with those measures in place, I believe we shall go to the polls and the will of the Kenyan people will prevail. So it's about everybody complying with the law and doing the right thing. Thank you very much.
We're coming to you live from the Bomas of Kenya, the National Call Center for the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. We've just had a presser from the IEBC commissioners as well, speaking about election preparedness, and they've assured Kenyans, to have confidence in them that all systems are set for August 9th, definitely on the last rush to ensure that everything plays out smoothly come the big day where Kenyans get to decide. And right about now, I'm being joined by the woman representative of Uasin Gishu, Gladys Shuli. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you feeling this day?
Great. Yes, we are on the home stretch.
Yes. Indeed, definitely the home stretch. Of course, political parties and candidates expected to wrap up their political rallies by tomorrow. How's that coming along?
Yes, my political party, led by the presidential candidate, has a big rally tomorrow. Yes, at Nyayo Stadium.
At Nyayo Stadium?
Yes.
Let's not talk much about that right about now. I want to ask you matters election preparedness. Of course, with the IEBC in picture, we've just heard from them assuring Kenyans to have confidence that everything will play out smooth. Them having confidence that the election will be free, fair, and credible. What's your take on that?
I think I came here particularly today on behalf of my political party because we were pretty concerned about what is the interpretation of the court order relating to the use of the manual register at the polling stations. And also we wanted to know how IEBC is planning to comply with that particular court order, because it's also important they comply with the court order, but at the same time not creating loopholes in the electoral system. And I think we've been explained to by the chairman that the manual register is available at the police station anyway as per their process, but only as one for being used to tick off or as an accounting document against the identification by the KIMS kit. So it's confirmed that the electronic voter identification kit is the primary document for identifying voters. Should that fail, they have spare kits. If those kits completely fail, which is highly unlikely, then they will fall back on the manual register, but only if everyone is in agreement. So it's not that it's available for use as an alternative. It is not available. It's a complementary process as required by law, yes.
Indeed, and speaking of loopholes, let me ask you, what are some of the loopholes that you feel like the IEBC should have closed by now? 3 days to the elections, looking at them promising Kenyans to have delivered ballot papers and received all of them by tomorrow 6th, and now them extending it to the 7th. Do you still feel as confident in them?
I think the assurance is that all ballot papers and all ballot boxes, which we got today, are on the ground in the various stations. The only ones that are arriving tomorrow are the ones that had been situations where there were court cases. Therefore, printing was delayed. And I think with that assurance that everything will be in the country by tomorrow, I think that's a good assurance. When you look at what IEBC has prepared, first of all, our system is self-checking. The fact that we have electronic voter identification, that voting starts inside the polling station, counting is done in the polling station, an announcement is done at the polling station, and the results at the polling station is final. That in itself is an airtight system. I think the only thing we are worried about are external factors outside of IEBC, like was raised by my political party leader. One is that they can interfere with the elections by causing violence so that there is voter suppression, so that people don't come to the polling station. Two is when they start buying people's identity cards so that people are unable to vote in our various strongholds. Or three, bribing voters, where they have chiefs assigned 30 people per chief per polling station to ensure that those people are told, if you vote in this direction, then you will be paid this amount of money. So you can see the rigging is not through IEBC. The rigging is state-sponsored. But I believe that we have called them out. Kenyans are aware, and Kenyans know. We have told Kenyans, don't allow anyone to ask for your ID card. Don't allow anyone to tell you that they will bribe you if you have voted for them, because after all, they will not know who you have voted for. So we've educated Kenyans to that extent, and I believe confidently that my team is destined to win. The next president is William Ruto.
All right, I like the confidence that you're oozing. But one final question, what message do you have for Kenyans? 3 days to the election, what do you have for them?
I think I want to tell Kenyans that the power is in your hands. You're the ones who ultimately decide. When people talk about the deep state is you, the voter. The deep state is you, the voter, every time. And when people talk about there is a server, the server is the polling station. Because everything happens at the polling station. There is no other place the counting is done. There is no other place where the announcement is done. And the result of the polling station is final. Even the announcement is bombers, is just the announcement of exactly what transpired at the polling station. Thank you.
Thank you so much indeed, Gladys Sholei. Just to bring up to speed to what IEBC commissioners have spoken this evening, led by their chairperson Wafula Chebukati, is that they've already distributed, or rather they're continuing with the distribution of ballot papers, and they will receive a final lot of ballot papers tomorrow and ensure that they have arrived to all constituency by Sunday. We're coming to you live. My name is Faith Kaulu. Let's cross over to the other side where Ida Munzatsi definitely is going to give us an interview with probably the vice chairperson of the IEBC. Over to you, Ida.
Is the National Tallying Center, and as Faith mentioned, we were to have an interview that is with the Vice Chair, Ms. Cherera, but they've just walked into a meeting. But I'll just brief you on what the commissioners said, led by Wafula Chebukati, who is the chair of the Electoral Commission. So according to the Independent and Boundaries Commission chair, that is Wafula Chebukati, unfortunately they won't be meeting the deadline that is of 6th, which is tomorrow, in terms of transporting the ballot papers, or rather the voting materials. So as they mentioned, they will be transferring or transporting the materials by Sunday. Unfortunately, they won't be meeting the deadline of 6. Now, according to Francis Wanderi, who is one or just among the commissioners of IEBC, pallets, or rather voting materials or voting pallets for governors, the pallets that have been transported is 585. For the senator position, that is 514 pallets. For women representatives, that is 515 pallets. For the members of parliament is 593 pallets. For MCAs is 730 pallets. So according to Commissioner Francis Wanderi, there'll be a distribution of the final and last 18 pallets of the voting materials. Rather, that is particularly for the members of parliament. Remember, there was a case about the same. So the 18 pallets will be received in the country tomorrow, and definitely it will be distributed, as I mentioned earlier, by Sunday. And unfortunately, they won't be meeting the 6th deadline as they had stated earlier. Something else that they talked about is that the manual registration is back. So in case the electronic system fails, they'll be using the manual register. Remember, there was a case in court that was petitioned by the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance. That is on 10th July 2022. So according to the Independence and Boundaries Commission, the manual register is back, and in case the electronic system fails, they'll be using the manual registration. So just to keep you up to speed, as I mentioned earlier, for the distribution of the voting materials or the ballot papers for the presidential candidates, including ballot papers and other voting materials. So that is 164 pallets for the presidential seat. For governors is 585 pallets. For the senator seat is 514 pallets. For women representative is 515 pallets. For the MPs is 593 pallets. And for the members of parliament is 713. Remember, for these pallets, this includes the voting materials, the ballot papers, as well as the form 34Bs, which have already been received, and distribution is ongoing. Remember, according to a briefing that happened the day before yesterday, the distribution of the presidential materials will be happening today as well as tomorrow, even as the campaigns come to a halt tomorrow. So we'll be still be updating on what exactly is happening at the Bomas of Kenya. Remember, this is the National Tallying Center, and we've been camping here from morning until now, and we'll continue putting you up to speed with exactly what will be happening. As I mentioned earlier, the Independent and Boundaries Commission official or commissioners are back into a meeting, and they'll keep on updating us on how exactly or how ready they are in terms of August 9. So that's it from us from the Bomas of Kenya. My name is Aida Munzati. Remember, we were with my colleague Faith Kaulu. From us, we take you back to studio for normal programming.